Good morning, Year 9s, or good afternoon, or good night, whenever you happen to be watching this. I am making yo-yos today, Year 9s, and this is something that you would have done a design brief about, and you would have done a little bit of research, but anyway, I'm going to make them, and you can think about, because you never know, we might get back to school and you could make them yourself. So we have to sieve our dry ingredients. So it's 1 cup of self-raising flour, half a cup of custard powder, which is really coloured and flavoured corn flour, and 1/3 of icing sugar. So we sieve that. Make sure you get out all the lumps. Try not to go all over the place like I just did. Usually the icing sugar that has all the lumps in it. Tries to go back to its crystallised form. And that will do. Okay. Then we need to put 165 grams of butter. So you can use the scales, that's how we do it at school, and you already get it measured out. But if you're at home, you need to work out how to do it. So our paper, or our butter, is wrapped so that it has the measurements already on it. So there's 50, there's 100, there's 150, and we need 165. So between there is 25, so that'll be 175. It's a little bit much, so I'm going to put a mark in there. So it's 165. Now it is a lot of butter because these are mainly butter, flours, and sugar. And that's why you only have them occasionally. It's not something you'd have. Now, as you can see, I'm cutting it up into little pieces because that helps when I have to rub it in. So this is just the rubbing in method of the flour and the sugar. Oops. Just take a little while to do. If your butter's been out for a little while, that can help. You don't want to put it in the microwave. It just does not work. Just get a soggy mess. You really have to do it this way. It's the only way it works. Now, not with scones, you're lifting and rubbing. But with yo-yos, we're just trying to get as much butter softened out into the flour and the sugar to make it a mixture that's going to come together into one big ball. And these biscuits are a short kind of biscuit, meaning that they pretty much melt in your mouth because there's a large proportion of butter in them. That's why we only have them occasionally, because they're not very good for us. Like most sweet things, it's just an occasional treat. And these are very much a treat. They're delicious. So I'm definitely getting there. I'm just going to give it a shake, and the large pieces rise to the top. I can do a bit more rubbing of those big ones. Fingers get a good workout on this. Then I'm going to try and bringing it together, as you can see. Now, if you're going to change the recipe for this and you're going to add a flavour, if I was going to add, say, chocolate chips or any kind of decorative like cashews or hundreds and thousands, this is the time before you start making it. Well, you can even add it now if you wanted to. If you forgot, you can just mix it all around with your hand. So there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is, while I've got grotty hands anyway, is start rolling them into balls. Try and make them as consistently the same size, because you sandwich them together. And if you're not happy, just re-roll them. So there we have 3. Just hold with me one second. So what I'm going to do now is when I've got a whole tray, now I wouldn't put any more than 3 across because they do spread out a little bit. I know the recipe, I'll use that same cup I had just my flour in a minute ago. The recipe said plain flour, but I always use self-raising, and you can have a look at the ones I've done in a minute. Now, what I've done is I have put a little bit of flour and then shaken it off so that you can do usually 2 in the one go and then shake it off. You don't want a whole lot of flour, and you want the indents of the tines of the fork to be quite big. Okay, so we will continue on with that, rolling out, put them in the oven. And then, voila, we have some already prepared. So if I'm going to make my icing, it's 3/4 cup of icing sugar. And once again, you can sift it. It is 40 grams of butter, which this time I do melt it in the microwave. Make sure you put Glad wrap over it so you don't splatter it everywhere. Now, if you need to, I've got some water. If you're going to put cocoa in here, that would make it dry, so you'd have to add a little bit more. Now, if you're going to put a few squeezes of lemon juice, which I'm going to do, oops, I don't need any water. As you can see, that is quite soft, and if anything, I might need to add a little bit more icing sugar. You just got to gauge it yourself. If it's a bit runny, add a little bit more. So there's the icing made. And here's some I've made before. As you can see, these ones have got chocolate chip and cocoa icing in them. These ones have got 100,000s in the biscuit, and I also put it in the icing. These ones were plain biscuit, but I've put these little colourful shake in there, little shapes. This one here, no. Where is it? One of them is just plain green. But anyway, I just put green colourings in, and of course the cocoa. So you can make the biscuit plain and then the filling all different colours, or you can make the biscuit plain and sort of have 100,000s and flavourings in it, and then you can have the icing all coloured. Of course you can add essence. It said 3 to 4 drops, and that's literally what it is, just drops of an essence. Example, vanilla, if you want it really vanilla-y. I like lemon in mine. You could also put something else like mint, peppermint filling, and then colour it green, something like that. You don't want to go over the top with your flavourings because it overpowers the biscuit. So there we have our yo-yos, and I hope you enjoy making them. See you later, Year 9s.